Okay, so I'm going to show you an example of what we do in one of the things that we can do in the first stage of the sales process. Yeah, one of the jobs in the first stage of the sales process is to understand the customer's business and to understand their strategy and direction and where they're going. And it's also to try and find out projects of what they're doing so that we can maybe link our products and services to their projects and their priorities. Yeah, that's the ideal world for a sales rep. Yeah, so we're also looking at the principle again of pencil selling and of using a blank sheet of paper to build up a complex idea. So when you do this, you're going to be doing it on a piece of paper or a serviette in a restaurant or at a meeting table. And one of the critical things with pencil selling is that, you know, this piece of paper is something that becomes an interactive tool within the discussion, and it's something that you actually leave with the client when you leave. Yeah, it's something that you leave there with them. And maybe they take consultative value purely from that perspective. Okay, so this is a window, and it represents the market. Yeah, and as with all markets, you have the market leaders. Yeah, so let's give them an arrow because they're leading. They're the market leaders. And what's the opposite of market leaders? The market losers or the market laggards. Obviously, nobody wants to be down here, but somebody's got to be there, right? Because not everybody can be the leader. Yeah, and now, how do we judge what these two are? Well, you have what we call the cost axis, and the cost axis represents the focus that a company puts on reducing their cost and keeping their costs under control. And here we have revenue, and this is the focus that a company puts on increasing their revenue streams. So a company has a strategy, right? A company has a strategy to become more successful. Most companies would love to be the market leader. Yeah? The question is, how do they get there? What are they going to do in order to get there? So if we look at your company, for example, now you've already said to me that your company, when it comes to dealing with cost, you've said that you're not the best in the market by any means. You say, you know, there's a lot of old departments that are still there. You've got 2 companies in your organization which are still remaining from the old company. You know, there's a lot of cost associated with these organizations which still needs to be solved and sorted out. You've mentioned already that you've got a manufacturing line that's 20 years old and that there are plans to refurbish it and stuff. So yeah, you're not great at cost management, but you're by no means the worst either. Yeah, and when we ask the question, you know, are you average, below average, or above average? You kind of said you're slightly above average, above the average of the benchmark of cost management. Yeah, and then we looked at the subject of revenue. We said, you know, where is your company on the revenue axis? Are you better than the average? Better than your competition, looking for new sources of revenue, or are you worse than the average? And there was a unanimous agreement that you could be doing a lot more on revenue increasing activities. A couple of people actually said, you know, the competition are much more aggressive than we are. We need to go to market much more. We're not as good as the competition when it comes to focusing on revenue. Okay, so this gives us a position within the matrix. And now we come to the question, where are we going? Where's the organization going? So if you imagine an arrow that goes that way, that arrow, well, let's draw it in. This arrow would represent a strategy that is purely focused on revenue increasing initiatives. Yeah? Which means we have a strategy to increase revenue. That means we're going to invest in revenue increasing stuff. So we're going to build a new website, we're going to hire some more sales reps. Yeah? Look at all of those things. We're going to build a new website, we're going to hire more salespeople, we're going to train those salespeople, we're going to implement a customer relationship management system so that they can put all of their information in, we're going to invest in advertising and marketing, we're going to expand the product line Yeah, we're going to, what else are we going to do? We're going to have a big party for all of our distributors. We're going to get some more distributors. Yeah, we're going to make it easier to buy our products and services. We're going to have an online shopping facility, and on and on and on. Yeah, all of these things are designed to increase revenue. Yeah, so this strategy would really say we're only going to spend money where we can see that it'll increase our revenue streams. Make sense? This strategy is completely the reverse. Yeah, we will only spend money on things that reduce money. So we will spend money. Some companies just say, boom, we won't spend money. Yeah, but this company will spend money. They will spend money on things that is designed to reduce cost. Yeah, they will hire a bunch of consultants to look at how much money they're spending on things that are not critical for the business. They will reduce the number of suppliers. They will negotiate better prices with their suppliers. Yeah? They will close one of the manufacturing lines that is not being profitable at the moment. They will implement an ERP system, an enterprise resourcing planning system, which will reduce cost across the different departments at all levels. They will fire people. Yeah, they call it streamlining. Streamlining is a good word, yeah, but it means moving people out. They will take away the management, one line of management, they'll take it out of the organization. So these things here are focused purely on reducing the cost in the organization. Yeah, these things will take cost away. And so this represents a cost-focused strategy, and this represents a strategy which is focused on increasing revenue. Yeah? Now, obviously, they will have a strategy that does both of these things, but the emphasis will be on one rather than the other. Most organizations have an emphasis on one or the other. Cost is more important to them than revenue, or vice versa. Most organizations go through periods. For 3 years, they'll focus on reducing cost. Then for 5 years, they're rich. They'll focus on increasing revenue. Then back to cost, then back to revenue. Yeah, very often you see this kind of a change in an organization, in their change of priorities, their change of focus, and the change in direction of where their budgets go. As a salesperson, I would like to understand this, because it means that I can ask questions around these projects. I can understand what the priorities of these projects are. This one may be more important than this one. This one here, which is what I thought was really important, actually isn't really important at all. So I can change my messaging and change my communication with the client based on an understanding of where they're going. Yeah? So that's the purpose of doing this. Sometimes you'll have a client who says, we're here, we're market leaders. Yeah? Well, the same principle applies, because they still have a plan, they still have a strategy, they still have a need for cost reduction and revenue increasing activities, they still have ideas and projects and plans behind them. So the need to understand where they're going and what they're going to do is still critical. Okay? And sometimes you'll have a lot of very close access to the IT department. Yeah? And then you'll be able to ask the question, what does your IT department do? How are they based on cost? How are they based on revenue? And what you will very often find is a completely different picture. The perception of the business from the IT perspective and the perception of the business from the sales, from the business perspective, is completely different. Yeah? So there's very possibly a work that can be done there in aligning this and deciding really where the company is. Okay? So this model is what we call a consultative model, to understand somebody's business strategy and their focus on projects and which kind of projects they're going to be investing in the next few years. From the principle of pencil selling, if you remember the process that we used, Number 1, this is a window. Number 2, cost strategy. Number 3, revenue strategy. Number 4, position on cost. Number 5, position on revenue. Do you remember how it went? Different stage by stage. Stage by stage, building up the picture one piece at a time and explaining it one piece at a time. In that way, you can get quite a difficult concept onto paper in a way that is thoroughly understandable. And in the nicest situation, your customer says, "Give me that pen. Let me show you where we are." And the customer takes the pen into their own hand and they put it there and they say, "No, you're completely wrong. We're here and this is where we're going." The customer has taken ownership of the concept and it is now showing that person value. You can't judge what value it's showing to them, yeah? But you know that it's giving them value at some level. Okay.